Hey everyone, welcome to the MindMajix YouTube channel. Now, in this session, we will learn one of the most important functions of Excel, which are the lookup functions. So in this particular session, we will learn about the XLOOKUP function in Excel. Imagine you manage a bank loan database and you need to find out an email address of a customer. The routine address is to manually checking each and every row provided the data is comparatively small. Given a situation where you have thousands and lakhs of rows, instantly you'll feel the data piling up and stress getting under your skin. Instead of manually searching through hundreds of rows and columns, what if there was a quick fix and foolproof trick that fixes your problem in mere seconds? That's where the Excel lookup functions come into the picture. Lookup functions make it effortless. With a simple formula, you can instantly retrieve matching data from large volumes of data set. Whether it's tracking inventory, pulling out customer details, or linking financial records, lookup functions save time and eliminate errors, making data retrieval seamless. In this session, we will learn about XLOOKUP function in Excel, and further in the lineup, we will learn the other remaining ones as well. That said, if these are the type of videos you'd like to watch, then hit that like and subscribe buttons and the bell icon to get notified whenever we host. Now, without further delay, let's get started with XLOOKUP in Excel. Now let's quickly go through the definition. What exactly is XLOOKUP in Excel? The XLOOKUP function in Excel searches for a value in a table or a range by rows and returns a value from the same row in another column, regardless of which side the written column is on, making it a versatile replacement for HLOOKUP and VLOOKUP. Now you might be wondering that we already have VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. Why did we need XLOOKUP, right? So the data retrieval part, you just wanted to match your ID of the primary key and pull out the exact match and then the adjacent data to it, and your job was done, right? Same was the scenario with HLOOKUP as well. Since we already have two lookups, why did we opt for a third type of lookup? That's the question. Now, to understand this in a much better way, let's go through a practical understanding. So, as discussed in the example, we have this loan data set over here, right? So we have the customer name, we have the customer ID and email address and everything. Now, if ever our lookup value is customer ID and we were fetching the email address, it is a left to right operation, correct? So this can be performed well in VLOOKUP. But what if we had loan ID and we wanted to find out the email address, which happens to be a right to left operation, correct? So this is a right to left operation which will not be functioned or which will not yield in a result if we were using VLOOKUP, because the VLOOKUP performs the operations only in left to right, not right to left. In our case, we have the loan ID and we are fetching the data which is in the left column, the email address, right? This kind of right to left operations will not be performed in VLOOKUP. What it performs is the left to right approach, where we will have the customer ID and we are trying to look for the email address or the phone number. In the scenario, this works well in VLOOKUP, right? So all the time, whenever you wanted to perform this right to left operation, you might have, you had to send this loan ID column all the way from right to left and then try to perform the match operation. So for this kind of small Excel dataset with 10,000 rows, it would have been doable. What if you had about 100,000 or thousands of rows? This is really impossible task. The system will hang in real time. And maybe that data is shared with a lot of people and it could be messy for them as well, right? So to avoid such kind of an ambiguity, XLOOKUP came into picture. And there's another reason as well. Even in HLOOKUP, you might be wondering if we can go with HLOOKUP. Will HLOOKUP work in this place? No. HLOOKUP as well works in an approach where it searches for the data in a top to bottom way, right? So it works in top to bottom way, but will not work in the opposite way. It will not work from bottom to up way. This will be confusing or it will not even function right? So this is the problem with HLOOKUP as well as VLOOKUP. So in the VLOOKUP, it will perform only from left to right operations. In HLOOKUP, it will only operate in the form of top to bottom approach. And apart from these two issues, there is another issue in these two lookup functions. Let's say this particular customer Christy Carter. He made a transaction with the bank. He took a loan 5 years back and he repaid it. And now he's ready for a new loan. And now I came up with a question. Let's imagine that I'm the manager and you are the manager's reportee, right? I ask you a question, which is the most recent loan taken up by Christy Carter, right? There are two loans. One is the old one and the other is a new one. If you were to use VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP, it will give you the first result, right? So it will work from left to right and top to bottom, which will absolutely yield in the first result. So it will give you the details of the previous loan. It will not give you the recent details, right? When you use XLOOKUP and provide an extra parameter, so far we have understood that VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP have 4 parameters, but the XLOOKUP will come up with a 5th parameter where you can dedicatedly provide a single parameter to this formula to help you find out the least or the latest entry of that particular customer, right? So I think you'll understand much better when we go with a practical demonstration. So there you go. Here we have certain entries: customer ID, email, phone number, loan ID, and the income what they're getting. Now, based on the customer ID, I want to fetch all these details. Now, in the previous approach, you had to provide either V or XLOOKUP. You had to provide the lookup value, which is this table array, where you had to select the entire array. And you might even get confused sometimes. Let's say I wanted to find out the email address, right? So I select 1 and 2 arrays or the columns. So I provide you the email address and I refer to the index number 2. But what if a new column is entered between the customer ID as well as the email, right? Then that might be a little difficult. Now, in the VLOOKUP formula, if you provide the index value as 2, then it will consider the new entry, the new column in place of email ID, which is in between customer ID and which is in between the customer ID and email address. Now your formula will fail. So to avoid such ambiguity, we came up with XLOOKUP, where you provide the lookup value, comma, your value, the primary value which is entered, right? This is the lookup. This is the column where you look up for the lookup value, the customer ID, and you are looking for an email address. Just mention the email address here, right? The email address column. So whenever you introduce a new column in between these two, the index requirement vanishes away and you will never fail. And the third parameter is absolutely the same, the match mode. And here you don't have to specifically mention the match mode. It is obvious. It will take match mode as default as false. It will give you an exact match. And the last will be the search mode. I'll explain you about it. So far so good. You can straight away close the function. And as soon as you close the function, you have the email address. Now let's proceed with finding out the phone number in the same way. XLOOKUP, press tab to select. This is your lookup value, comma, the lookup array, which is the customer ID, and the resultant array is the phone number. Just select the phone number column and provide the last match, or the last, or it's not last but 1 actually. So the match mode is 0. By default, it will choose the exact match, but in case if you want, you can provide that as well. Now close the function and enter. You have the phone number. Now the loan ID, and we know that each and every new loan has its own unique loan ID, right? Even if one single person takes multiple loans, if you wanted to find out their first ever loan, or if you wanted to find out their latest loan, then you can proceed with that particular data just by using the 5th parameter, right? Let me execute that. So XLOOKUP, and this is your lookup value, comma, and this will be your first column, comma, their loan ID, which is here. And now as usual, you can provide the match mode as 0. And here is your last parameter, which is about first to last search, last to first search, binary search, and you can also go with ascending order or descending order. Let's say without XLOOKUP or without, let's say without XLOOKUP, if you wanted to find out this particular data, then you had to manually sort the data according to the dates, which is from, if you wanted to find out with ascending, then you might have to, sort the data from ascending order, beginning with the least number to the highest number. Let's say you wanted to find out the latest data, then you had to sort the data manually from the latest entry to the first entry, right? This could have been another task, and again, you're playing with the host data, right, on which many other people or your colleagues are dependent on, right? So to avoid this ambiguity, you can proceed with such approach where you can just, provide the parameter and you'll have the data unharming the original data set. And income, which is the last value that we need to find out. Let us consider this as a small homework for you. Let's try to find out the income per annum, and you can leave the answer in the comment section below for our reference. And with that, we have come to an end of this session on XLOOKUP in Excel. Get started. So what exactly is VLOOKUP in Excel? So as we discussed, there are three lookups: VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, and XLOOKUP. So V stands for vertical, H stands for horizontal, and X is a combination of both V and H, and also with some advancements. So now let's focus on VLOOKUP. Let's understand what exactly is VLOOKUP. So VLOOKUP is a function in Excel that searches for a value in a column and returns a corresponding value from another column in the same row. It's useful for finding and extracting data from large tables. I know just directly reading up between the lines will not help you understand. So let's go through a data set and understand it in a better and realistic way. So we are on Microsoft Excel, and this happens to be a sales data. Now, let's say I give you the order ID. I just have the order ID, and I wanted to know what kind of shipment mode did this particular order ID was delivered. So it was a same day delivery mode, as you can see right away here. And let's say I also want to know the customer ID or the customer name or where he lives, right? So I wanted to know all such details. Now you can just see straight away here you have an order ID, and you can just go through the adjacent entries or adjacent cells, and you can fetch the data. Now what if I give you this particular data set is about 10,000 rows. Now what if I give you about 715th order ID? So will you just scroll up, just check match every single entry? This particular, the length of this particular text might be about 30 to 40 alphabets, right? 30 to 40 alphanumeric entries and even special symbols. Will you just sit and match every single entry? That is going to be time consuming, right? So in such scenarios, you will use a lookup function which will match every single entity in this particular cell, and after it matches, it will search for the array, right? So this is the primary key that you're looking for, and if you wanted to have the shipment mode, it will match the entry that you give and automatically will fetch that particular shipment mode and give you the result. Now, I hope you have a brief idea or reading between the lines how it actually works. Now, let me walk you through a practical demonstration. So here we have the order ID. Now let's say one shipment mode, customer ID and customer name, right? Let's copy these entries and paste it in transformed mode. There you go. We have the shipment mode, customer ID and customer name, and also price, right? So let's remove the price for a different session. Now I've removed price for a reason, right? You will be dealing with array entries. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 6 columns, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19th column, right? So why am I counting all the column numbers? Is it really important? Yes, it is really important, because you will be giving the resultant column number so that the VLOOKUP understands which column should it fetch. Now let's look at that in a real time to understand it in a much better way. So here the syntax goes: VLOOKUP. So press tab to select the function. There you go. The lookup value. Which value are you searching for in this entire data set, right? So I am searching for this value. Whatever the entry you give here will be your primary key or the search term, right? So this is your search term, and where exactly should I search for this term, right? So you are searching for this term in this particular data set. So this is the data set you're looking for. Now, select the entries. Now, for the first one, we wanted shipment mode, right? So you need to select the array. Order ID, order date, shipment date, and shipment mode is the array, right? This is the two-dimensional array that you're searching for. And now you'll press comma after you gave the array. Now, where is your result? Your result is shipment mode. It is in selected arrays 4th column, right? Even if it is in the 5th column in the actual data set, you selected 4 columns. You selected column B, C, D, and E as the array input, right? Now your result is in the 4th column. So you need to enter number 4 column, and here you have a true match and exact match, right? So true stands for appropriate match, which is like a fuzzy match. Somewhere if it matches partially, you can just take it up. But now I want exact match till to the last entry. So I'll give it as false, right? Press tab to select, and now you can close the parenthesis, close the function. Just press enter, right? So here you can see it is giving the same day delivery. Now, what if I change this particular value to this? Let's go with this entry. Now I'll just replace this value and place it here. There you go, press enter. Automatically it changes, right? So what it is doing is, firstly, it is checking the key value that you're searching for from the array of entries. This whole entry of arrays is your input for it. Now, out of all these columns, it is searching for that particular single entry. And after that, after it finds that entry, it will understand which column are you looking for. Where is your resultant column, which is the 4th column. And after that, it is understanding that you want an exact match, and then it will manually check for that particular keyword, and it will scroll all by itself to the 4th column, and there it will find your output, and it will just display it over here. So this is how the VLOOKUP function works. Now let's also try for customer name or ID in a similar way for just understanding how exactly it works. VLOOKUP, and now the key value is this, comma, and the table array. Now let's go to the top section again. Now you're looking for customer name, right? Yeah, customer ID. So now your array will start from column B to all the way up to column F, right? So you have selected now 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 columns, comma. Now where is your result? Your result is in the 5th column, right? And now you want an exact match, right? You can also give it as 0, or you can also give it as false. Let's go with false. Press tab to select and press enter. Now you have the customer ID. Now let's try for customer name. Same, VLOOKUP, key entry, and now the array. So you will start from column B to all the way up to column G. So this is your array. Once you've declared the array, the resultant column is number 6, and you want exact match. Press 0, close the bracket, enter. Right? Now, for this particular order ID, the shipment mode was standard class, and the customer who ordered was Advika Goyal, and her customer ID is this. Now, if you give a similar customer ID or a different customer ID, let's say I want to go with this particular customer ID, I'll just paste it over here, and automatically you have a new customer, and this is someone Raman, and the customer ID and the shipment mode. So this is how the VLOOKUP function works. Now, let me give you a small assignment. The price column that we deleted, so now I'll have the price column here. Now let's see who can figure out the formula, and if you have done it, then you can drop a message in the comment section with the syntax. And consider this as a small homework for you. And with that, we have come to an end of this session on VLOOKUP function in Excel. So what exactly is this horizontal lookup function in Excel? The horizontal lookup, or the HLOOKUP, is an Excel function that searches for a value in the top row of a data table and returns a value from the same column in a specified row. It's usually used when your data is organized horizontally and you need to retrieve information from a row based on a value in the top row. Now, again, just definition will not cut it. Let's go through a practical demonstration and a live dataset to understand this in a much better way. Now, in the previous session, we had this data set for VLOOKUP function in Excel. Everything was organized in terms of columns, right? All the column headers or the cells that indicate what exactly is present in that column are vertically organized. Now, let's say this particular data is organized horizontally. What do I mean by that? Now, let me allow to copy this entire data set, create a new sheet altogether, and make use of the paste function. And here, I'm not just pasting the data, I'm transposing it. That means making columns to rows and rows to columns. So here, you can see the column headers previously in the older data set are organized horizontally in place of. Now, you can see the column headers from the previous data set are organized vertically in place of horizontally, right? So now let's say we are searching for certain ID or certain value from the entire data set from the horizontal perspective in place of vertical perspective. Let's say I give you the row ID number 1 and I want to know the product name, right? In this scenario, you are looking at the data set in a horizontal perspective, right? So this is where HLOOKUP comes into the picture. Now, before we get started with HLOOKUP, let me show you a small trick to organize the entire data set. So just Control All to select all these cells and then use Alt HOI to organize the columns and Alt HOA to organize the rows. There you go. Now, let's proceed with our exploration, right? Now, go to the same sheet where we have the entries. Now, let's say, let me copy this and paste it right here. Now, let's say I give a certain order ID and I want to find out what type of shipment mode they used, who was the customer who bought it, what exactly is his customer ID or her customer ID, and what was the price, which will be your homework. Now, let me use the same order ID here and give the HLOOKUP function. So press tab to select the HLOOKUP function. The lookup value is same. The operation is completely similar to that of VLOOKUP. The only thing that changes is the array declaration and the row index number. Previously, we chose the column index number, but here we will be choosing the row index number, right? So that's our lookup value. And now we go into the data set. And now we are looking at the shipment mode, right? So for that, order ID is our first row, second and third, fourth, comma. So this is our array. This is the level where we will be searching for the data, fetching the data, and your result is in the fourth row. Surely you can see this is indicated in the fifth number, but the array, according to the array that we selected, the resultant element is in the fourth row, right? So here you can see sheet number 2, and we have selected rows from second to fifth, that is second, third, fourth, and fifth. So the resultant shipment mode is in the fourth number, fourth index. That's the reason we are discussing this in terms of indexes, right? So fourth index, and I want an exact match, so I'll go with false, press tab to select and close the function, enter. There you go. So the shipment mode was second class shipment mode. Now let's go with the customer ID. Same approach, HLOOKUP, press tab to select the function. This happens to be your lookup value and the table array, right? So you're giving the order ID first row, second index, third index, fourth index, and fifth index. So we are looking at the result in the fifth index. So give the index number 5, comma, exact match will be 0, enter. So you have the customer ID. Similarly, we'll go with customer name as well. HLOOKUP, press tab to select the function. This happens to be your lookup value, and the lookup array is this: first index, second index, third index, fourth index, fifth, and sixth index. So your output value is in the sixth index, and I want an exact match. Select the false and close the function, enter. There you go. Now, this happens to be your homework. I need you to find out, repeat. And just like in our previous session, finding out the price details will be a quick homework for you. Now, let's see who will be the first to answer this particular question. You can just drop down the syntax for this particular approach in the comment section below. that brings us to the end of this session on horizontal lookup function in Excel. If you have any queries regarding any of the topics covered in this session, and if you require any of the resources used in this session, like the PowerPoint presentation, dataset, or the function syntax, then please feel free to let us know in the comment section below. And our team of experts will be happy to assist you at the earliest. Until next time, thank you for watching and stay tuned for more from MindMajix.